Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, November 11th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Bucknuts contributor Jonah Booker. Jay, but first topic, Mike Weber admitting, quote, I'm in a lot of pain regarding his sprained AC joint in his shoulder. How big of a concern is this for you?
It depends how severe the sprain is. Those are long-lasting, lingering type of injuries, Dave. I mean, you look at another Buckeye right now that's dealing with the same issue, which is Carlos Hyde. I have him on my fantasy football team, and I'm watching the Daily News Wire every day to see if he's practicing, and it's been 3 weeks now, and he's yet to receive any type of contact. Mike Weber said he's going to play against Maryland. I personally would sit him and let him rest, especially with Michigan and Michigan State coming up and potentially a Big Ten championship game. The last thing I want to see is Mike Weber out there against a team in Maryland who Ohio State should dominate and re-injure that shoulder. Now you're going into the really meat of the schedule short-handed. So I would say rest him, but from all indication, he's a tough guy and he's going to try to grit it out and see what he can do.
The good side of this, not that there's really much good side, because this time of the year they're going to need Mike Weber, especially when we're talking about 2 weeks from now for the game, November 26th. They're going to need Mike Weber. They don't need him this week, though. They can beat Maryland with, Curtis Samuel, carrying the ball, a lot more. They can mix in Dante Wilson is what we're hearing they're going to do a little bit at the running back position. And then, short story long, I think the good news is Demario McCall is going to get more of a chance this week. I had a chance to ask Urban Meyer about that on Wednesday. If it does pan out that way, Jay Book, your thoughts on Run DMC getting some more playing time this week at running back?
I love that kid at running back, Dave. He's so special. He's a smaller back, and Urban Meyer mentioned they wish he was a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. But when I look at Demario McCall, they have him listed at 5'9", 182. That's similar build to former running backs that Urban Meyer had at Florida, such as Jeff Demps. He at Florida was around 5'7", 180. Another guy that's similar to Demario McCall's skill set is a Chris Rainey at Florida. He's similar to McCall at 5'9", 183. I would love to see him get about 10 touches against Maryland. I mean, the guy's averaging 6 yards per carry. He's shifty, tremendous feet. One thing you can teach is that twitched up type of football player that Urban Meyer loves to mention, and you have that in McCall. The one concern with him, though, is pass protection. That's my biggest issue. And Urban Meyer mentions ball security. He hasn't put the ball on the ground in actual game situations, so when they say they're having concerns in regards to his protecting the football, it has to be in practice. But I would love to see him get about 10 touches against Maryland.
Time to give you some props, my friend. You called it before anybody else about this. We were talking about Dante Booker on the show, I think it was 3 weeks ago, and you mentioned, I think they're thinking about redshirting him. And for some reason, that didn't even occur to me. It's been a hot topic of conversation the last 2 weeks, but when you brought it up, it hadn't even occurred to me, and you thought it would be wise to at least, try to redshirt him if you could, keep him ready. If you need a linebacker and he's healthy, put him in there. Or if you have the luxury of redshirting him, do that. Maybe he, could have a huge year as a fifth-year senior in a couple of years. And you're absolutely right. That's exactly how it's panned out. So kudos to you, sir. And just, speak more about that. Do you, some people say, hey, all hands on deck. This is a year when Ohio State could, they have all their goals in front of them. But it's kind of the best of both worlds. It is all hands on deck. He's ready to play. He's been practicing. But if they can redshirt him, they're going to.
Yeah, I think it makes the decision a little bit easier when you have a guy in Jerome Baker that's playing outstanding. The indications is consistently for weeks on end, Dave, was Booker's probable. He may suit up, and then we saw that he was on the travel roster for Penn State, and a lot of people thought that he was closer than what he really was because he didn't even get in that game. And to me, Booker's a guy who's battled several injuries so far in his career, and the last thing you want to do is throw him out there with a few games left in the regular season He re-injures that knee. Now he's burnt a year for basically nothing. So at this point, if you don't need him, throw that red shirt on him. Maybe if he's good enough and he starts the next couple of years, he goes to the NFL early. Good for him. Good for Ohio State because you're getting outstanding linebacker play. But if not, you have him for that extra year. And with that being said, he wasn't going to take Jerome Baker's spot anyways. You have a guy who's a semifinalist for the Buckeyes. Jerome Baker's playing some tremendous football. The most max that you probably would get out of Booker is some special teams reps and some rotation here or there or some garbage time. No need to burn the red shirt when you can have him back for another year.
We're, of course, immersed in football, and that's a good thing, but I find this really cool. Ohio State's basketball team will tip off its regular season schedule tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time at Navy. It'll be televised by CBS Sports Network. What do you expect out of this Ohio State basketball team this year, Jonah?
I think it's going to be a fun group. It's a very young team. To me, it's tournament or bust for this team. Now, how far they go, that's to be determined to see how they develop in the chemistry of this team. But to me, I think this is a huge year for Thad Matta. I mean, how many times during the basketball season last year, the year before, Dave, where guys are on the board calling for Thad's job, thinking that they can do better, maybe go get Miller out of Arizona or Dayton, one of those guys. So to me, this is a big-time year for Thad to silence his critics. One thing I'm very interested in is how this team really gels, because this is the most Ohio kids on one roster that Thad has had since he's been at Ohio State. So it's very heavy with Ohio State. Usually he gets a lot of those high profile guys from out of state, 5-star recruits. But this is Ohio heavy. How will these guys perform in the Big Ten? I'm looking forward to see what they do against Navy. It should be an interesting game, but it's tournament or bust.
Thad Matta and his players got a chance to tour the Naval Academy yesterday, which was really cool. So, tonight, 9 o'clock, Ohio State basketball tipping off its season at Navy. Let's close the show. Let's get back to some football. Brass tacks here. Ohio State at Maryland tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, will be televised by ESPN. What's your prediction for this game? Give me a final score and how you think it's going to go, just for anybody who might have missed our staff roundtable story yesterday.
Yeah, I have Ohio State winning big, 56-10 here, covering the spread on the road. I like what I saw against Nebraska with Ohio State as far as their play calling and their situation awareness. It was a much different team than what we saw in weeks past. The one thing you look forward to with Ohio State is how are they looking in November. They started the month of November off looking phenomenal against Nebraska. I have a strong feeling that the momentum's going to carry over against Maryland. This Ohio State team, if they can put together two big back-to-back games against Nebraska and Maryland, there's a very good chance they're hitting their stride at the right time coming up against the Michigan team. So Ohio State looking good. Get the backups in there late, and let's get ready for the Michigan State games.
Yeah, I have a very similar score as you do. I have 49-10 Buckeyes. So I'm not quite as bullish as you are with the 56-10, but 49-10 is what I have. I just hope Ohio State gets out of this game healthy, and then, as you mentioned, can get prepared for Michigan State, and then the big game the week after against the Buckeyes rivals. Can't wait for that one. Great stuff as always out of Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it, my friend. You can catch his column every week on Bucknuts. It is outside Columbus. So thank you, J-Book, and thank you to all listeners out there for tuning in to the show. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.